Once I had a girl.
No, it's not a UT football game or a basketball game, although there have been plenty of them. Recruiting, top 20 finish. The problem for the Vols in football recruiting is about other, 8 SEC teams finished ahead. The rich get richer. Key's what you do with them. Conzo Martin, UT Vols in basketball, getting a big win over Georgia over the weekend and continuing to show that, that mid-season addition of size 20 tennis shoes, Jarnell Stokes. Bill Haslam, the governor of Tennessee, longtime friend. We've been playing basketball and been UT fans our whole life. I could wear a size 20 shoes over my shoes.
Get both of my feet in there perfectly.
Hey, welcome in, man. Good to have you with us.
It is good to be here. Thanks.
We could just talk sports in the Super Bowl the whole time.
I was about to say, that would be great for me.
Now, I know your brother and your family a little disappointed that the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't playing in the Super Bowl. They now have an ownership interest in the Steelers, and private sector, he gets to play in the NFL.
Exactly.
Public sector, you get to be governor. I mean, it's kind of cool, but NFL, man.
No kidding. I can definitely tell you which one's cooler.
But you all had to be watching last night as well. But and of course, Tennessee fans. I was laughing with a bunch of my buddies last night. You got Tennessee fans cheering for the Giants because Eli Manning's brother played.
Exactly.
He went to Ole Miss, guys. He's not a Tennessee guy. Never lived in Tennessee. Doesn't care two wits about Tennessee.
You take any connection you can get.
Or as Andrew pointed out, finally there was a Manning playing in Indianapolis this season, which was good.
That's true too.
Now again, you've got a brother that's actively involved in the NFL. What's the rumor on Peyton? I mean, there's no way I think that he's playing in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
any shot at coming to Tennessee?
I honestly don't know that. I mean, I think Peyton does keep playing. I mean, he's too competitive. He loves sports. He loves football too much to hang it up now. So I think that a lot of people thinking, he won't play again. I would be very surprised if 18 isn't out there playing for somebody next year. Like I said, I'm like you. I can't quite see that happening in Indianapolis.
Well, and that instinct that comes even as old athletes like us. I mean, when it starts being basketball season, they start cutting the grass for former football players.
Right.
I could have one more season. Look at Brett Favre, man. Even when he couldn't go, he played like 3 more seasons.
Well, I just don't think. I don't think Peyton is convinced in his mind that he's. I mean, before the injury this year, he had a great year the year before. So I think he still thinks I can compete here and I can play. And my sense is he's going to try to figure out the right place.
And he's in such perfect position to not have to make a money decision.
Right.
Of where can I go get the biggest paycheck? He'll get a big paycheck anywhere, but he can say what team gives me the best shot to be playing in February and getting a ring so I can tie my brother.
Right, and knowing how competitive Peyton is, that's exactly how he's thinking.
Yeah, and you got Arizona Cardinals, you got the Tennessee Titans, you got the Denver Broncos. I mean, I could think of 6 or 8 NFL teams that you put Peyton Manning in the mix. They're suddenly a Super Bowl contender.
Right. And I think Peyton, I've always heard him say, he wants to be where he can be competitive, have great receivers. And then I think he's gotten used to playing inside Indianapolis. So I think the wear makes a difference as well for a quarterback.
And he's been able to have a remarkable career with very few injuries as well. Let's talk a little bit about Tennessee.
Sure.
You did your state of the state last week.
Right.
Kind of laid out your vision. The Democrats, for the most part in the legislature, saying, hey, we'd tweak a few things here and there, but you have to feel pretty good that there seems to be a bipartisan approach to the agenda that you laid out.
Well, I think there is. I think we started with kind of the basic theory of our job in government is to provide you the services you can't buy for yourself. You can't buy prisons. You can't build higher education institutions. You can't build roads for the lowest price being the tax. So we worked really hard at how do we improve the service and how do we cut the price. We cut the price by lowering the sales tax on groceries and beginning to cut the estate tax in Tennessee, which has chased capital out of the state for a long time.
We were talking with your Commissioner of Finance and Administration the morning after your State of the State, Mr. Emkes, and he was laying out that we're seeing actually a little bit of resurgence and some revenue coming back, getting us back, but let's not spend it all, guys, because there's no guarantee that's going to continue.
Well, I think that's right, and Mark is like any good finance person. He's going to be very cautious about that, which is, I think, what we should do. It's not our money. It's taxpayers' money, so we shouldn't look at the first sign of optimism and say, don't just stand there, spend something, because that's what government tends to do. So I think what you're going to see is a very cautious approach, but realizing that those tax dollars aren't ours, so how do we provide the very best service that we can?
You're getting some good news on the economic front also in terms of the unemployment rate in Tennessee, dropping just a little bit, still at or above the national average. And yet the national numbers we know really don't don't reflect the true unemployment figures.
Right.
You've got the highest percentage of people who are not working in this country in 30 years. A lot of the unemployment drop is because people just don't count anymore. They're not unemployed in terms of getting compensation. They've given up. Are Tennessee's unemployment figures getting better for real, or is it kind of that statistical aberration as well?
Our number employed, that's back to what you're referring to, has increased.
So it's a better real number than
it's
the
a better
national.
real number. Now, do we have some people in Tennessee who have dropped out and quit applying, et cetera? I'm sure the answer is yes. I don't have access to those kind of broken down.
You still have to depend on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is the national numbers.
Exactly. So, but the good news is the number of people employed in Tennessee has gone up considerably in the last year.
One of the things that you've done a little bit differently with economic development, Commissioner Bill Haggerty, Commissioner of Economic and Community Development, Julius Johnson, Mark Imkes, and you mentioned these other guys have really kind of as a team in the cabinet with your guidance are out there changing a little bit the economic development plan of instead of just going out there and you're still doing this, let's go to Illinois where they're pushing business out of state, California, let's go get those big ones and bring them here. But also you'd kind of change the target to say, look, small business is where you've really got to grow. What are we doing to help small businesses in Tennessee add 2, 3, 4 people? Doesn't get the big visibility of a big ribbon cutting announcing 500 people, but if you get 500 small businesses across the state, each adding 2, you get more bang for our bucks. And I know it's hard to count that, but I know you're seeing some results there.
Well, we are, and you actually can go back and eventually count that, which we're doing. Last year we added 28,000 new jobs in Tennessee along those lines. And what we have seen is, 65-70% of the job growth is just what you said. It comes from existing businesses. It's that 5-person firm adding 2 more, et cetera. So we've tried to focus on those companies. How can we help them more? Believe me, I'm just like any other governor or mayor. I love it when we go get the trophy and we can announce. So
and they're doing all they can to help you in Illinois and California.
Believe me, they really. If you look at Illinois' employment numbers, you see the impact of increase in taxes like they did. So we love to get those folks. But the bread and butter day in and day out, you're exactly right. Is how do we get that small firm to agree to grow in Tennessee? And the place I have the frustration with the federal government is this: the only way new jobs are created is when people are willing to put capital at risk. When they only put capital at risk into an environment that they are confident in, and I think that's what's happened to our national economy. We're trying to change that in Tennessee to say we're going to give you a predictable environment, whether it's about legal lawsuits, whether it's about tax rates, whether it's about availability of workforce, so that you have that confidence to invest capital, then we get jobs.
When you look at the economic development plan, it's really a 3-stool or 3-legged stool. You've got let's go get some more and bring it in. Let's grow it here. And then it's let's sell our stuff around the world.
Exactly.
And international trade export really got ignored in Tennessee for the last 10 or 12 years. You guys have also put that back on the agenda. I know that the ECD folks are taking a group primarily to promote healthcare exports to Korea and to China in April. You've put international trade back on the agenda as well.
Well, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, I think you sell what you have. And in Tennessee, there's certain real areas of strength. So healthcare would, as you mentioned, is one of them. The whole logistics distribution capacity of West Tennessee is one. But if you're out selling things, you say, well, what do we have that other people don't? And we take advantage of that. So we're taking a group of healthcare professionals to Korea and in Asia this fall, continuing to focus on our ingrown strengths in Tennessee.
And again, the interaction between the Commissioner of Agriculture, Julius Johnson, ECD, and others, because agriculture is still one of our biggest exports.
It's a huge business and people tend to minimize the impact of agriculture and tourism, which are 2 of our biggest industries in Tennessee. So for instance, in the budget you talked about, we put some recurring money into tourism marketing, knowing that those dollars really do return themselves.
How much of your tourism marketing effort is targeted to kind of domestically, getting folks in Illinois to come here? Again, we were at that kickoff for Gaylord a few weeks ago where they're going to combine with Dollywood, do an exciting new venture here, more aspects of promoting Memphis also. So you kind of do that whole statewide deal. But are you also focusing on that international tourist that may be coming in from South America, Europe, and Asia?
Well, we want that international tourist because they come and tend to stay for a long period of time. But in the end, what we want to do is when that family comes from Ohio and they're planning on spending 2 days, how do we get them to spend 4 days? So they go to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, but they end up over here at the Grand Ole Opry as well. That's really what our challenge. We're trying to make certain we hand off from one region to the other.
And when you look at states like Florida, Tennessee, Tennessee that are dependent on that state sales tax. That out-of-state money is a good way to get tax money that Tennesseans don't have to pay.
It beats the heck out of an income tax for folks. So you're exactly right. I mean, sales tax is in encouraging the tourism piece is a big part of it.
Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam in studio with us today. We're going to talk more about the legislative agenda that is, underway. The legislature's back in town. What are the other hot topics? Education was a big one in his first year in office. Now you got some folks wanting to backtrack or undercut some of the stuff that's in there. We'll talk about education and more with Governor Bill Haslam in just a moment.
I found that girl with the golden hair, and she was a riding on the Tennessee mare.